Now, it's the third day of debate in Parliament on the 2021 budget. We take you now to the floor of the House for a live coverage of proceedings.
And then we can move to the main topic of the day, the continuation of the debate. The others, we want the ministers responsible for the sectors to be available before those statements are made. Some are quite urgent, but we need the reaction of the sector ministers and also for them, after the statements are made, to take immediate action to resolve the issues. And so I'm going to permit the Honourable Member for Wa Central to make a statement on the devastating impact of Galamsey and irresponsible mining practices on Ghanaians by Honourable Dr. Rashid Pelpo. This is because of the impact on the water sector in the country and the threats to the water system. Yes, Honourable Member, you may do so now.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for this unique opportunity. Mr. Speaker, I stand today on behalf of the many Ghanaians who have been afflicted by the unparalleled devastation we are witnessing across many communities in Ghana, especially the Western region and many other regions of Ghana. Mr. Speaker, our dear country Ghana is blessed with enviable natural resources, a beautiful shoreline and ecosystem of serene rivers, marshlands, and green vegetation on which our people of myriads of flora and fauna depend. Rivers like Pra, Amanzule, Subin, Ankobra, Tano, Offin, Brim, Blackwater, and large lagoons and water bodies like the Abe Legon are sources of sustenance and refreshment for entire communities in the southwestern and central banks of our country. Our people fish from along these rivers. Economic activities thrive along them, while our children and adults enjoy their refreshing waters. Underneath our lands and our shores are even more valuable minerals like gold, diamond, bauxite, manganese, and others, as well as millions of others, barrels of oil, of cubic feet of gas, and other resources. Mr. Speaker, unfortunately, the people who live in the areas where these valuable minerals are found are of the poorest of the country. While their resources fuel Ghana's economy, they themselves have had to contend with subsistent living, lack of acceptable healthcare facilities, and personnel, dilapidated and non-existent education facilities, among others. One would have thought that for an opportunity to mine gold and other minerals in these areas would have opened up these areas and lead tangible improvement in the standard of living of the indigenous population of these communities. Ironically, Mr. Speaker, in the past 10 years, irresponsible mining practices made possible by lackluster supervision and regulatory regimes compiled with illegal mining or galamsey have left unspeakable devastation in these communities. Mr. Speaker, the level of destruction has taken on a new life of its own in the past 5 years. Today, Nkrafol, the birthplace of our pride and President of Ghana, Osagyefo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, has been left with gullies and unspeakable devastation that pose major risks to the inhabitants. The situation is even worse in some areas where these destructive and highly polluting activities are carried out right in the middle of towns and villages in the full glare of security and administrative personnel. Large tracts of virgin lands and in Suta, in the western region, Prestia and western region, in the western region, Obuasi, Adansi, and several other places in the Upper West region as well, have been destroyed. Mr. Speaker, many rivers we have mentioned here have been polluted beyond recognition. The atmosphere is saturated with mercury, contamination, cyanide, and other chemicals. Instead of refreshing the rivers, there are gullies and pools of mercury and silt contaminated water. Children and adults alike have drowned in gullies left uncovered by these irresponsible activities. Mr. Speaker, it is on record that the President is addressing the Galamsey. In addressing the Galamsey in 2017, made a statement that, and I quote, "I am willing to put my presidency on the line." Today, Mr. Speaker, Galamsey and various versions of this have become a normal practice. The attempt at tackling these menace only lead to cronies of the government in power and other individuals, and particularly connected Ghanaians and foreign nationals, being given licenses with no follow-up to determine what they do. Mr. Speaker, security forces have enforced the law only half-heartedly. Mr. Speaker, the lack of will to act at the top has led to suspicion about the security of authorities in taking the right actions to end these irresponsible and illegal activities. At this rate, Mr. Speaker, unless something drastic is done to curb this menace, many in our nation, and these are the most vulnerable of our population, would need to import water for the survival and continuing debilitating diseases that can result from prolonged mercury poisoning. Mr. Speaker, the opportunity of doing nothing about this current mayhem unleashed by irresponsible mining practices and Galamsey is enormous. Our country stands at the crossroad today. We in Parliament have the onerous responsibility to speak up and require the government of President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, the Minerals Commission, the Ministry of Lands and Forestry, the Ghana National House of Chiefs, and the Regional House of Chiefs, and especially those in the hotspots in the act to curb this menace once and for all. Mr. Speaker, a government environmental activist, Mrs. Elizabeth Va, who I found on Facebook and other social media, has put out some very important areas of commissioning for our understanding. And Mr. Speaker, about 3,500 signatories in Ghana and abroad, all are found citing and signing these her resolution which he put across. And Mr. Speaker, may I just quote a few of them? And number one being that we are called on to halt the matter of agency, as a matter of agency, the imposition of the imposition of executors and to ensure that the matter is brought to an end. Number two, Mr. Speaker, the government of Ghana to halt all licensing for the prospecting of gold, bauxite, and any other minerals in the forest. The Speaker, he also said that we need to have all mining activities in our near bodies of water and forest reserves halted with immediate effect. And we also need to have all current mining licenses holders present their land reclamation plans to an independently created body made up of professionals in land reclamation and mining. Mr. Speaker, having read all these, I have took notice that the President, in mentioning the minister to take over from the past minister, he particularly mentioned a young person, Honorable Samuel Jinapo, to take over as the Minister for Lands and Forestry. We look forward to seeing a more determined foresight in saving our dear country. This will address the earlier lackluster approach in dealing with the issue. Mr. Speaker, I have another page which I have left out just because it looks like there's a lot of time we need to. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Deputy Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, you admitted my senior colleague's statement under the rules of this House. And the terms of the statement, as you admitted, is supposed to be fully made available to the House. So I would suggest, most humbly, that if he holds a view that for want of time, he wouldn't want to read everything, then he must apply to the chair for Hansa to capture the entire statement. Other than that, I think, Mr. Speaker, there will be a difficulty. Mr. Speaker, without boring you, Order 72 is clear on what it is. I'm grateful, Mr. Speaker.
Well, honorable members, I will just direct that he submits a copy of the statement to be fully captured by the Hansard office. Yes, Honorable Kofi Ahmad.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, let me first of all thank the maker of the statement, Honorable Pepo, for this very important statement on a very important topic, Galamsey. The Speaker, the devastation that this menace is causing in our country, especially in the communities that he mentioned, cannot be overemphasized. The pollution to our water bodies, our rivers, the pollution to even the air we breathe, the daily stories of young men dying in pits, the devastation that this is causing, Mr. Speaker, are clearly what has been recounted. Now, Mr. Speaker, on this day, and because I'm speaking in Parliament, I want to talk about even the issuance of mining licenses to the so-called very legitimate mining companies and what they are actually doing to encourage galamsey. Mr. Speaker, a lot of these galamsey activities have been occurring in our community, especially in my community. And I started to investigate why the constant interest. And I found out that the big mining companies who have concessions occasionally will not be getting the kind of mines that they had projected they will get in the area. So they are getting what they call tailings from the illegal galamseyers. And that is actually what is keeping their business going, encouraging illegal mining. And Mr. Speaker, even as we describe and talk about this effect, I think I'm calling on government, especially the Minerals Commission, to ban this tailing that these mining companies are getting. Secondly, Mr. Speaker, I think it's also very important that just last week there was a shooting, a rancor between a community in the Valua Jomrojura and a mining company at Damus. And Mr. Speaker, if you go into the story, it had to do with a community with a lot of young people who no jobs, and the feeling that the mining company has not even been engaging them. It is important that mining communities basically engage properly the communities and have a long-term plan with these communities. You cannot work in the community and mine and take the only resources they have. You can get your licenses from the government in Accra, but the real people with the social licenses are the communities. And often when these mining companies go to these communities, the communities are ignored. They can't mine, they don't have any authority, and yet they feel completely helpless. It is important that if we are to address illegal mining, these issues must also be addressed. But Mr. Speaker, more importantly, we must have a plan. And I think I'm very happy that the maker of the statement talked about political will. I mean, the history of our fight with Galamsey is a very extended one. I'm sure that every government has tried it. But we have to ask the question, why do we always fail? Mr. Speaker, we fail because at the core of this business, illegal Galamsey, is survival. And we must really find the solution. And Mr. Speaker, the solution lies in making sure that we do the things that will empower the youth. We do the things that will empower our young people. I think the call that we immediately get the Minerals Commission and other government institutions to begin a bold decision to ban the issuance of licenses close to water bodies should be a starting point. But Mr. Speaker, more importantly, the lessons in the last 2 years must tell us something. We cannot make a bold decision that we want to fight Galamsey and somehow think that we can make exceptions. We can make exceptions to our cronies, we can make exceptions to our party friends, and somehow we can succeed. It was obvious that the reason why we got to where we were was because people just got out of control. This is clearly a lesson that we should learn if we are to succeed again in this fight against Galamsey. It is a fight we must win. It is a fight we must win together. It is a fight that is at the heart of Ghana's own survival. Check our water bodies around. So, Mr. Speaker, it's a very important statement. We must fight Galamsey, but we must fight it together. We must fight it with one objective, to protect our water bodies and create alternatives for our young people. I thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity.
Yes, Honorable. I don't intend to call too many people, but yes, it's your turn.
Grateful, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I'm adding my voice to a statement ably made by my senior colleague on small-scale mining. Mr. Speaker, the Galamsey, as we popularly caption, is gather them and sell. Mr. Speaker, locally, the white people came to our area, and because we were collecting the gold nuggets with brooms at all times, they normally termed it as gather them and sell. And my grandma couldn't pronounce it well and said Galamsey. So Galamsey is gather them and sell. Mr. Speaker, in our jurisdiction, small-scale mining or mining is termed as Galamsey, whether it is legal or illegal. And when we're tackling such a menace,
That debate will begin shortly, but currently, And members are deliberating on a statement which was read by the MP for Wa Central, Rashid Pelpo, on the scourge of illegal mining in the country. Earlier, we heard the Honorable Amako Fibwa, Member of Parliament for Elembele. Now on the floor speaking is the Honorable George Merikuduka, Member of Parliament for Takwanspaye.
That at this point in time, we all putting our hands on the same page to address illegal mining. But let us be careful that we'll sing from the same hymn page, not discussing something important here and going on air to say a different thing, that you go and mine illegally. If it is illegal here, it must be illegal everywhere, not saying something here and touting on air differently. On this note, Mr. Speaker, I once again commend the maker of the statement, and let's tackle this menace collectively and dispassionately. I'm grateful, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable members, we still have the motion to debate. And today we are programmed to take 15 from each side of the House. So 30 of you have agreed to contribute to the debate today. And so we are likely to go beyond 10 p.m. unless you want to curtail some of your submissions. I don't want to restrict the free flow of our deliberations in the House. That's why sometimes I'm very generous. And so please, if you can limit your comments, I'll admit a few more. And I'll start with Honorable Suhini. I'll come back to the Minister to say a word, then we can move on. Yes, Honorable Suhini.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker, for the opportunity to contribute to the statement ably made by the ranking member for Lands and Forestry. I wish to commend him for such a thorough and well-researched paper that has been presented. Mr. Speaker, I've lost count of the number of times I've listened to statements being made on this floor on the need for all of us to come together to fight galamsey. Indeed, Mr. Speaker, the President, in many of his State of the Nation address, have also, on countless occasions, made statements on the need for us to fight this menace. Even presidents before him made commitments to the effect that there's a need for all of us to come together to fight this menace. Mr. Speaker, however, what remains is the fact that out there we seem clearly to have been losing the fight every time we renew our commitment and our pledge to fight the menace. And the consequences are that our water bodies remain polluted, our forest cover is depleted, and our citizens continue to put their lives at risk as they engage in this practice. Our farmlands are also affected by the practice. So perhaps, Mr. Speaker, it is about time that we came together to look at what we have been doing over the period, which have not been giving us the desired results, because it is common knowledge that if you do the same things expecting different results, then you can be perhaps likened to a man who is not very well upstairs. So it is perhaps time for us to come together to look at what we have been doing. Perhaps the brute force of closing down mines, of destroying equipment, burning them, arresting and imprisoning people, have not given us the results that we have all desired. We have spoken often about the need to introduce, for example, alternative livelihood programs. How well have those programs that we have introduced in some of these communities served us? We should be looking at reviewing those alternative livelihood programs and assessing the impact of those programs to see if they are, a better option for us to use in dealing with this. Again, we also know about the processes that are required for people to take advantage of this natural resource that belongs to the people and in their communities. Because people definitely, naturally, will want to extract this natural resource that is found within their communities and is supposed to be used for their good. But if you have cumbersome processes, for example, you have the Mineral Commission that is supposed to regulate the activities of these miners, centered in big cities, sometimes only in Greater Accra. And yet you have a mining field in Bolga. You have a resource that the people in the Western region want to exploit. And for them to be able to get the permit to do that, they'll have to travel long distances, sometimes make many trips to some of these offices so that they can get the approvals to extract these minerals. These are disincentives, Mr. Speaker, for people to even follow the law and do the mining, using appropriate technology and appropriate processes. So it is perhaps also good for us to look at how we can decentralize the Minerals Commission and the offices that are supposed to regulate, the activities of these small-scale miners. Mr. Speaker, I am disappointed, however, that after a relentless war that we were told was being waged on these miners, our president, after 4 years, came around to humbly, request that we begin another national conversation on this. Clearly, it tells you, Mr. Speaker, that we had spent so much money at what we thought was a war worth winning, only for us to get very little results from it. Indeed, Mr. Speaker, what was missing in the war was the government's own promise before the 2016 general elections to improve our water bodies by implementing a program that was to be known as the Clean Rivers Program. Mr. Speaker, it's unfortunate that by 2020, the only message on this Clean Rivers Program that you will find in the 2020 manifesto of the New Patriotic Party is the assertion that a total of 9 million trees were planted along riversides. I mean, how was that supposed to ensure that we improve the water quality of our lakes and rivers in this country? So, Mr. Speaker, I agree with the call for all of us to have a rethink and review some of the things that we have been doing that have been giving us the results that we are all not too excited about, and perhaps design a better approach moving forward. And I wish the new minister well. I hope that he will be accommodating enough and will be all-embracing. He will operate an open-door policy that will invite opinions and suggestions that together we can all succeed in ensuring that our people benefit from this natural resource, but not to the detriment of our environment and our livelihood. I thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity.
Honourable Minister for Lands and Natural Resources.
Thank you very much, Right Honourable Speaker, for the opportunity to contribute to the statement made by the Honourable Rashid Pelpo, Member of Parliament for Wa Central, and who happens to be the ranking member for my ministry. The Speaker, the ministry is changed from lands and forestry to lands and natural resources, just for the record. Mr. Speaker, when I appeared before the Appointments Committee, I made the point that for us to be able to deal with the issue of illegal small-scale mining, galamsey, in our country, I will respectfully submit, Mr. Speaker, that we need honesty. We need to be very honest. We need to be very sincere. And I ask for the support of this House, and I continue to ask for the support of this House, which is that for us to be able to make any meaningful impact in dealing with illegal small-scale mining in our country, we will need honesty and sincerity. Mr. Speaker, the fact is that anywhere you have an extractive industry in the world, whether it's in Canada or Australia or South Africa or Kenya, or the California gold rush, which we are all very familiar with, you have problems with illegality. That is the situation. Mr. Speaker, I want to also say that when the President called for a national dialogue, he was sincere, and we require a national dialogue. Mr. Speaker, the reason why we require a national dialogue is that if you take a look at the manifesto of the New Patriotic Party for both election 2016 and 2020, and you take the manifesto of the National Democratic Congress for both election 2016 and 2020, the commitments in respect of illegal small-scale mining are almost the same. They are the same. Look at it, Mr. Speaker. The two parties all commit to a lawful, viable, environmentally prudent small-scale mining. And both parties frown upon illegal small-scale mining. So that honesty is required, and I want to proceed that I don't take the position that everything that happened in the past was bad and was a failure and that was wrong, and that everything that happened in the past was good. Mr. Speaker, lots of good interventions took place in the first 4 years of President Akufo-Addo in respect of illegal small-scale mining. This was arguably the first time in our history, Mr. Speaker, that the issue of illegal small-scale mining was put very much at the front burner, where a lot of interventions were made. Interventions such as training small-scale miners, interventions such as community mining introduction. Mr. Speaker, I have in my hand here a gamut of legislative interventions, laws which were put in place to deal with equipment, to deal with the issues of how to acquire license, to deal with how to use revenue which comes from mining and all of it. So a lot of things happened. Mr. Speaker, is the infrastructural component of the fight, but we must also admit, and I'm the first as the minister to admit, that there are lessons to be learned out of that, which is why, Mr. Speaker, since taking office in 14 days today, I have set up a committee chaired by the able member of parliament from Wabieta, Honorable Benito, to coordinate this national dialogue, which will have all of us around the table, MPP, NDC, National House of Chiefs, pundits, civil society organizations, media, around the table to discuss this matter. Mr. Speaker, the impression sometimes is created that illegal small-scale mining just happened overnight. That is not correct, Mr. Speaker. It is not correct that illegal small-scale mining just happened. Mr. Speaker, I have in my hand here the proceedings of the Appointments Committee, dated Friday, 25th January 2013, where, very characteristic of my friend, the Honorable Okujoto Ablakwa, tabled, quite rightly, the issue of illegal small-scale mining, when my senior brother, the Honorable Alhaji Yunus Hussaini, appeared before the Appointments Committee to be vetted for the position of Minister for Lands and Natural Resources. And Mr. Speaker, it's instructive and revealing. With your indulgence, I just want to read portions of it. And I quote, the Honorable Okujoto Ablakwa, in posing a question, stated as follows. My second question, Mr. Chairman, has to do with mining, small-scale mining. In recent times, there have been serious concerns about the way and manner small-scale mining is destroying our environment. Indeed, our water bodies are now polluted because of small-scale mining, especially illegal small-scale mining, popularly known as galamsey. While you are answering that too, I would like to know how you intend to carry out the NDC manifesto pledge to flush out foreign galamsey operators. Now you have to grapple with not only the illegal small-scale miners from Ghana, but illegal small-scale miners from many other countries. The NDC manifesto, and it goes on and on and on. Mr. Speaker, the point out of this, and indeed, Mr. Speaker, again, I have here in my hand a graphic report dated 1st June 2017, where graphic reports as follows. 1st June 2017, and I quote, Mr. Speaker, with your indulgence. The national campaign against illegal small-scale mining, galamsey, is yielding some positive results as the quality and levels of water bodies in our country have improved. This has enabled the Ghana Water Company Limited to resume the operation of some of its treatment plants that were shut down due to the impact of galamsey, end quote. Mr. Speaker, 6 months into the administration of President Akufo-Addo, 6 months into the administration of President Akufo-Addo, because the fact was that Ghana Water Company plants had been shut down because of the adverse consequences of illegal small-scale mining. Mr. Speaker, that said, I want to conclude by craving the indulgence of members of this House, because we have 275 members of Parliament. Mr. Speaker, so if I was lucky to even receive the support of 80% of the members of this House, I have no doubt that we can deal with illegal small-scale mining in this country. Because in every community where you have illegal small-scale mining, you have a member of Parliament. In every community where you have illegal small-scale mining, you have an influential member of this House. And I intend to count on the wisdom, the experiences, and the support of members of this House. And together, if we stand by the vision of President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, we can deal with illegal small-scale mining in our country for the betterment of the future of our country. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable members, we'll move on. Statement time is ended.